Okay, we've arrived at our next job now, and if I pick the drop sheet up, I can see that it's marked as urgent again, and it's been created by Marion, and that we've got 2 burners on the stove that do not work. It's been reported by the guest, and then the job site is here. So I'm just going to make a little change on this just to point out. I don't mind which way you do this, whether you record it afterwards or whether you record it before. But work started is an important thing on here, and the time is now 12:04 p.m. So I'm just going to mark that in now, because sometimes if a job's going to take a fairly long time, you might want to put that in first. And the date today is the 12th of October 09. Let me just make sure I've got the right date there. I have. So 12th of October, so I record that. Now I can see that when I've got to the property there are cars on the drive, so I am expecting the guests to be in. So you don't treat this any differently. You go up to the door, you knock it a couple of times, you fully expect the guests to be there, so you really shouldn't need to let yourself in. When the guest comes, just explain who you are, show your ID if you're required to, and tell them why you're here. In this case we're just here to fix the 2 burners on the stove. So that's what we're going to do now. Let's go and do it. So I've got to the stove here, and probably what's happened is that the cleaner's been in and they've put this tin foil in. That's okay in its own as long as the foil is clear of the ring mechanism. And what's happened here, it's probably not been pushed in correctly. So all we have to do is make sure all the burners are pushed in correctly. So the thing that we're going to do to start with is we're just going to test and make sure all the burners are actually working. The way to test this is obviously you can feel the heat coming up when it happens. So that one actually does work. So there's 3 of them not working here, and all we need to do, make sure we turn them off. Is just make sure that they're pushed in correctly. And what's happened here is this one was actually loose completely, and you can see that the mechanism here is actually split apart. So we're just going to close that up a little bit and then push it back in. So what we can see here is that this mechanism actually has come away from where it should be retained. So we're going to put that back in there and then tighten it up. This one now is actually fine. You can see it's where it's supposed to be. So all we need to do on that one is push the burner in properly. So what we're doing here is just putting this back in the correct place and tightening it down, and then this burner should be okay. And it's exactly the same. This burner's off here, and this bracket should be overlapping like so. So we're just going to replace that. Put that one on as well. Okay, one thing to really be aware of here is when a maid does choose to use the tin foil, make sure it's well clear of this connection here. So this is how it should look when it's done properly. Okay, so there is no chance of the electrical connection being touched by the tin foil making everything live. Okay, so that's now pushed in firmly, and that should come on just by testing it, and we can feel that's already getting hot. So that one's done, and it's exactly the same for this one here. You can see we're putting the thing in, pushing it in quite firmly. And then that one's getting hot as well now. So that's it, that's the burner job done. Very, very simple task. Now on this job you can hear that the guests are obviously in the house, so all you need to do here is just say what you've done and leave the property and let them enjoy their vacation. You don't need to leave a courtesy. So okay, that's another job done successfully. We didn't need the courtesy note on this occasion because the guests were in the property. So we told the guests what we'd done and apologised for the problem, and then we got on with the task. Now the time is 12:16. So we need to complete the job sheet. 12:16 p.m. on the 12th of October 09. It was serviced by me, and all I did there, reset the electrical connections. No parts, so 0, and the total labour was 12 minutes. So that's that job done. again, make sure that we do it in the correct way. Try and get it as systemized as you can, so you know the process before you go into the property, you know the process when you're in the property, and you know the process after. That way it makes life much easier.